Doing fantastic. How you guys doing?
Great, man.
Yeah.
Chilling.
Not gonna lie, that was an extremely entertaining debate. I was a big fan. It's a little weird though, because I came up to debate something completely unrelated to capitalism, socialism. So I don't know. Maybe I should debate like a little bit later after other people get their more like substantive stuff out of the way.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
maybe, yeah, because Jovan is leaving in a few, so
Yeah,
the after
exactly.
shows are usually related to the topic, but we can keep going after. So let's
Yeah,
bring.
yeah. I'll see you guys in a bit. Although Jovan, I like your voice. You're pretty cool.
Hey yo, thanks, Squad.
All right. Yeah.
All right, let's bring Yupogo and Space Apache, and I'll send you back
They
to
don't
the
like
audience.
my voice.
I
Jovan,
just
they
had
don't
a
like
tiny
my voice.
jab what Amender said earlier. Sorry, I almost said American because he tagged me. The whole you lack experience thing, that would also end up being a fallacy.
It is
Yeah,
fallacious.
lack of
I'll grant you that. That doesn't mean it's wrong.
Well, it's okay. Yes, that would be fallacy, but the fact that you making that as an argument on its own would be just wrong in of itself.
I already presented my arguments. I'm saying that like he probably likes these things, and I think it's a lack of life experience that if he were to suddenly lose all of those things, he might actually miss those things, and therefore he'd probably not be as.
I would just argue that I grew up poor, so I know what it's like to not have those things.
You're incidentally saying
Yeah,
that
me
he is
too.
doing it out of a privileged stance that is like confirmation biased, sort of.
I'm saying he
Like
lives
biased in a way?
with a great deal of privilege, and he would probably miss those things. Yeah.
Like a sort of like a selective blindness type of thing.
So I wanted to point out something, like maybe Jovan, I don't know his life history, maybe he was born into privilege, okay? Maybe he hasn't lived without it, but I have, and I can tell you that under socialism, I'm not a communist like Jovan, because he strikes me as a full communist, I am a market socialist, okay? Under market socialism, you don't have to technically give up your nice things. You'll have plenty of nice things. It's just that more people will have nice things. You can't really become a full-blown billionaire. All right. And by the way, I would be willing to engage in some degree of hardship to give up a lot of the things that I have in order to achieve this. In fact, I regularly already do. So I think making this argument that Jovan lacks experience, he doesn't know what it's like to live a hard life. Well, I'll back Jovan up on this as somebody who has lived a hard life, that I think it's very possible to do this. I think he would be okay.
I'm changing my name to Jovan now. By the way, I like it better.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I would just say I grew up poor. I didn't grow up rich. I didn't start big. I've been homeless. I literally was homeless. I was living in the back of an office building that I worked on. I was living in the back room for months. Like, I know what it's like to not have material things, right? And I can confidently say I would be okay losing some of my material things if it meant that everybody had their basic needs met.
Not me, bro. I fucking worked hard as shit for my stuff and what meager things I have, and I'm okay. I worked fucking hard as shit for these things, and dude, I went to South America, and I've seen poverty. I've seen real fucking poverty, not like in the United States with this like normal level of poverty. I'm talking some real fucking shit, like favela like stuff. It's fucking awful. I can't even imagine.
Any argument I make to that would just be a virtue signal.
Well, the issue here is that the level of poverty, I've also been to plenty of third world countries, more than just South America, and ironically, like, I don't think you've seen true poverty in the United States. Like, go to Mississippi and Louisiana in the rural areas and see third world level conditions, in many cases
some of them are,
worse than
that's
third
true,
world level conditions. And so, like, this is like Appalachia, abject poverty, a lot of indigenous
I've been to Appalachia. I've seen it. It's very poor.
Chicago. It's insane. Chicago, Atlanta, the poor areas there. It's hovels. It's on par with the favelas, on par with Cambodia, which I just got back from. And a couple of the arguments I would like to address real quick. The innovation argument. So Mender kept making the innovation argument. Innovation under capitalism is incremental innovation, similar to what the Soviets did with their tanks, where you built the T-55, and they built the T-72, and they built the T-80, then they built the T-90. These were all innovations on the same idea, right? Which incremental innovation is a part of capitalism, and I do appreciate. That's part of why I'm a market socialist. I do appreciate some aspects of incremental innovation. However, exponential innovation does not happen under capitalism. on average. You want to know why? Because it's fucking expensive. It costs a lot of money and it's uncertain. So capitalists do not fund experimental growth, which is what we generally refer to when we talk about exponential innovation. Okay, do you know how, including in the modern era, with all the capitalism in America, guess who does the most exponential innovation? It is space companies under government funding, not private capital. Government funding does this. Private capital will only innovate at an incremental level because it's safe and it's reliable and it makes money to get things like touchscreen LCDs and GPS and so on, and implants for bodies like pacemakers, to get ballistic missiles, to get all of the stuff that we have. These were literally innovated under government-funded programs because you can afford to run down rabbit hole after rabbit hole without having to worry about a profit incentive.
Yeah, I don't argue that the government, shouldn't do innovations. I agree. Like, do innovations, also market. Like what?
But there's a difference between incremental and when we talk about
that's fine.
innovations,
That's
we're
fine. Do
generally
both.
talking
You don't have to have one or the other. You can just do both.
We're generally talking about exponential innovations, like true massive growth.
Yeah, that's fine. You can do both.
See that. You only see that under socialistic programs.
That's fine if government do. Also, government doesn't mean therefore socialism, but it doesn't matter. Like, you can have government programs and private companies do the same thing. These are not antithetical to one another.
I'm not saying they're antithetical. I'm saying that the capitalists constantly use the innovation argument, but they're only really good at one type of innovation, and that's not the type of innovation people usually think about when they're talking about innovation. Only socialistic programs, even if it's not a socialist government like America, can do exponential innovation. Only they can afford it. It doesn't depend. Show me one capitalist organization that does rapid exponential innovation. Show it to me.
We did it with the blue LCD light. Well, actually, not we, but a private company did, in fact, do that with a blue LCD light, whereas normally that wouldn't have been possible. LED light, yeah, LED light, yes.
That happened during the space race. The LEDs came from the space race. They were
the blue LED was not possible until a private company discovered it.
It's still incremental, low-level innovation.
That's not an incremental, low-level innovation. You can't actually have all of the nice things that we have, like with all of the nice screens that we have, without the blue LED. It's literally impossible. We needed that to happen.
LEDs already existed. The technology.
Yeah, but the blue LED in particular was extremely hard. Nobody could figure it out. It was only by one private company, this one dude, that figured it out. It was insane. It changed everything.
Now, it's all it is.
Yeah, but that's not incremental. That's a giant push.
That is incremental. It's an adaptation to an existing platform. It's not like ballistic missiles, for example.
At this point.
I mean, just looking at like a very surface level of the guy Shuji Nakamura who invented the blue LED, he brought the idea to the company, was like begged them to allow him to work on it. Like he could have just like if we had a structure where you bring an idea to a national committee and they do it, he could have done it the same way, right? I don't know that this would necessarily. I just don't know that the argument this would be impossible. He's asking in particular,
was there an instance where capitalism actually made a giant change? This is an example. That's all. You're saying it could work. Sure, maybe, but that's not what happened, right? In reality, it was a private company that did that.
Veritasium made a really cool video on the story of the blue LED. I put it in the side chat, like right there. If you want, you can check it out.
Amazing. It's a really cool video.
The issue is when we talk about exponential innovation, we're talking about things like take the first ICBMs, for example. Innovated by the initial research started by the Nazis, definitely under government programs, right? Nothing like that had ever existed before. Nothing like that had ever existed before. It was not an adaptation to a pre-existent piece in technology. It was an entirely new piece of technology. Okay, they innovated it. They innovated the first V2 rockets, and then the communists came along, the Soviets in particular, and they are the ones that actually created the first ICBMs, right? Took it from a small V2 rocket that could go a few hundred miles and turn it into an intercontinental ballistic missile, all right? That is exponential innovation. The Soviets won the space race effectively. Every fucking point in the space race, except for landing a man on the moon, the Soviets did first. You want to know why? Because you can afford exponential innovation under these types of programs. No capitalist company did that. None. Zero. They don't engage in this level of innovation. It just doesn't happen.
As opposed to what, like, I mean, what about like the invention of like the global trade system, like the banking system that we have? It's like huge. It's changed everything.
The banking system has been around. Is an adaptation from something that's been
But
around.
that's not an
literally
incremental
forever. Money has
change.
been around.
But that's not an
Money has been
incremental
around
change. That's a
for
giant
literally-
change. It's not even a matter of like money. It's like credit and the like automation of credit, making like entire giant markets for this. Roth IRAs. There's so much to this. That's like, it's like, wow, it's really not like, and that is a giant innovation. There's a lot of people that benefited greatly from this. That's just one example. What about the cell phone? That's another example. Like the cell phone itself is entirely, is absolutely very much a private innovation.
No, it's not.
What?
No, it's not.
Apple
Actually,
is the one that made it. They started with it.
You're incorrect. The first
Apple's
cell
the one that
phone
made the cell phones?
Hold on.
The first smartphone? Yeah.
Hey, give me no. Hold on. I'm going to get on a point. Smartphone. You said cell phone. The first cell phone was actually innovated.
I misspoke. That's
fair. Hold on. The first cell phone was taken from the Soviets. Actually, the Soviets invented the first cell phone.
Smartphone.
And then the U.S. government innovated the touchscreen LCD. All right, for their space program. And what Apple did is it took two pieces of pre-existing technology, exponential innovation, right, and combined it and created the first smartphone. But before the first smartphone, there were plenty of cell phones. So once again, incremental innovation. That is not exponential. It is incremental.
Smartphone is not.
But
I mean, you're just saying it's incremental because it's incremental. But I think that you're just operating on your own definition. Obviously, the smartphone changed everything. So no, that's not an incremental change. That's a giant change.
They didn't use your first statement was they innovated the first cell phone, which they didn't do.
Yeah, I
didn't
misspoke. I literally told you I misspoke. So are you just going to be stuck on the thing that I misspoke on, or are you just going to actually address my position?
Getting to the point. I'm getting to the point. Even the first smartphone wasn't even necessarily innovated by Apple. A lot the technology for the first smartphone was actually innovated from the U.S. government programs. You know that, right? They bought the tech and then popularized it.
Got it.
I'm done for right now. So if somebody else wants to get on stage, I'm gonna make room.
All right.